Did I cheat on my dog with another dog of the same breed? And did I go halfway around the world to do it? Maybe. Hi, my name is Phoenix and this is TFL Design, and in today's video it's going to be a part 1 of a multi-part series of my trip to Japan. It was sort of out of the blue. My husband wanted some R&R, some relaxation away from work for a week, and he decided instead of doing like a staycation or driving somewhere within our country, that instead we fly abroad for a week to Japan just to rest. So other than relaxing in hotels and basically arriving at the location of each hotel that we will be visiting, we didn't really have a plan. Now, other than the first hotel we arrive at will be onsen hotels, which are hot springs. I'd be landing at Kansai Airport in Osaka, so that first hotel won't have an onsen. It was actually just a one-night stay so that we could recoup after the very long airplane flight. Because in order to get to our next destination, it would take about like 3 to 4 hours to get there, and we'd already arrived sort of in the late afternoon and really didn't want to do some more traveling. So this isn't my first time in Japan, and these won't be the first onsens that I'd ever gone to. But as I said earlier, the point of this vacation was to relax, so I'll just be showing all the places I went to do a little shopping. In this first hotel we stayed at, it was sort of cool how in the lobby they'd give you little coins for a little drink or snacks or whatever. And then later in the suite, as you can see, I mistakenly tried to use the card in the doorbell area instead of at the door. But once we got in, it was a simple suite, but quite spacious because my husband insisted on really good places to sleep in since this was his relaxation vacation. He was basically like, what's the point of relaxing if you can't even sleep in a nice area? So while I personally would have liked to spend a little less on all the hotel rooms so that I'd have more money to spend on things to buy, he insisted that we splurge a little more and spend more on the hotels we stayed at. You'll see in the coming videos how swanky it gets. So on our first day of arriving, after dropping off our luggage, we decided to go into the city to explore a bit and do a little bit of shopping. Obviously, we had wanted to shower first after that 15-hour airplane flight. That would be an ongoing thing with us where we'd arrive at each new hotel and then immediately take a shower, because the weather when we arrived in Japan was extremely muggy, extremely hot. It did not rain the entire week we were there. It was just really sunny all the time. While my husband's goal was to relax, I was trying to do a few things. Number 1, I wanted to find a Japanese designer item that I could splurge on, new from the store. Number 2, I wanted to find a vintage or consigned, thrifted, secondhand, whatever you want to call it, designer clothing from a secondhand store. And 3, I wanted to find sort of like a vintage and pretty well-priced designer necklace from Chanel. That one would be the hardest to find. Spoiler, I did not end up finding it. I did end up going to a few Vivienne Westwood stores though, because I was actually looking at a choker necklace I'd found online and wanted to see if Japan had them as well. Because while I'm there, why not just buy it? Now, a lot of people are currently traveling to Japan because the Japanese yen is actually at one of its all-time lows. And because its economy is bad, foreign currencies can buy a lot more yen. So since the conversion rate was so good, that was actually one of the reasons we wanted to come at this time, which was sort of an off-season. While I was here, I was also sent on a little mission from one of my friends to do a little shopping for them. They texted me some things they wanted to buy from this Don Quixote store, and it was sort of insane inside with how much stuff there was on just one floor. And this building had 8 floors. and it was just monstrous insanity inside, with lights flashing, things in your face, and aisles that were a little bit more claustrophobic than I like. I did end up buying everything on her list though. She owes me big time. Now, after that first night, we'd have to check out of our hotel. However, they do allow us to leave our luggage there so that we can roam around the city before we have to go off. We left our luggage with them, as well as ship out our large suitcases to the hotel that we'd be going to on the third day. This is because rather than going from hotel to hotel, lugging our giant suitcases across trains and buses, Japan has a very convenient service that allows you to just ship them from hotel to hotel to even airports. And so that was one thing I really enjoyed doing the last time I was in Japan, and made sure to do it this time as well. We just left a little carry-on luggage and a backpack with us full of clothes that we'd need for the next 2 or 3 nights, and just enjoyed the rest of the day without having to carry those 2 other giant luggages. Now, as I said, I've been to Japan before, and I've been to Osaka specifically. You can check out my video of the last time I was here in a multi-part series as well. Once again, my goal was to buy and thrift designer clothing, specifically Japanese designer clothing. Only because it would obviously be less expensive in Japan to buy from Japanese designers, and the conversion rate would be a lot better. Whenever you buy these things online outside of Japan, it's always more expensive, and then there's shipping on top of that. Japan is very well known for its fashion and its secondhand stores. This is because a lot of the people there have like a limited space to keep all this stuff, I guess, and they just love to follow new trends. So you'll see a lot of secondhand luxury stores for things like bags and clothing and shoes, etc. I had found many things I had wanted to pick up, but always reminded myself to stick to the few things on my list that I really wanted. So I did not end up buying everything I saw, no matter how low the prices were. I mean, look at this. This was 5 yen, which is like less than 5 Canadian dollars. What is it, like $3.50 in the US? While I was here, I also visited Bic Camera, which is a huge store full of electronics and things like that. There are quite a few Japanese brands that I follow for certain electronics that I like to buy while in Japan because, once again, it's cheaper. I'll have a separate video of all the things I bought during this trip in a future video. You can look forward to that. Another thing that was super important in this trip was to eat really good food. And on this day, we went to a random place we walked by that had tempura. Strangely, the last few times I'd been in Japan, I never went into a place specifically for tempura. So we were glad to find one randomly that had actually really good food and for an amazing price. The amount of food they gave was to the point where I couldn't even finish my last item. It was so good. Don't worry, it wasn't wasted. I gave it to my husband, but I'd eat everything before. And as you can see, the amount of food they give was a lot. And service was pretty fast too. Even though the entire kitchen was in front of us and they were making the food in an assembly line process, it was still amazing to see how fast they were able to make things and serve things right in front of us. Also, the place smelled amazing. Just look at how many clams they give you. And for 2 people, this is the cost. Another thing my husband wanted to check off the list was to visit a Shiba cafe. Now, I own a Shiba Inu. However, my husband still felt that he wanted to cheat on it and visit a cafe full of an even smaller Shiba breed. Apparently, Mama Shibas are like a different breed from regular Shibas. And I feel the dogs that they had in this place were basically, how do I put this? The rejects. A lot of the coloring and patterning on these are definitely not what the Japanese view as ideal. And a few of them look a little silly, which actually made me love them even more. But you'll see what I'm talking about. Now, when we first entered, they were all super interested in sniffing out my husband's pants because, well, like I said, we have a Shiba, a male Shiba, and every single one of these dogs in the cafe were females. So they were definitely sniffing us out over anybody else in that area, or anybody else in that room. And when they asked why they were so interested in us and we told them, they all said to themselves, oh, that's the secret. We should have had another dog around us first. This cream-colored dog was definitely the rowdiest out of all of them and would be nipping other dogs while they ignored it since it was almost the smallest. And this dog right here had the sweetest demeanor, almost as if it did something wrong at all times. Just look at their puffy cheeks. My husband said out of all the dogs, he would have taken this one home. And that's what we did in Osaka. Now, we take a cab to the train station where we accidentally bought the most expensive version of train tickets. There are actually cheaper versions that are like half the price, but in our rush, we sort of just went with whatever and paid whatever. And you can see the price right here. But the seats were really big and the train was super quiet because I guess most people don't pay for that price. But yes, in my next video, you'll see the next city we went to as we were heading towards an onsen hotel. Be sure to stick around to see what our onsen hotel looks like in our next video. Bye-bye now.